There are stories we are drawn to, classic situations and scenarios that captivate us because they are a concentrated and heightened version of situations and goals that we feel on an everyday basis. Stop me if you've heard the story of the unlikely heroes taking down the bad guy, or the star-crossed lovers finding a way to be together. Well, The Shape of Water is a blend of both of these that also infuses them with more politically charged elements than any movie I've seen, and on-the-nose scenarios that are both annoying and anti-American. Of course, this is an Oscar-nominated movie. I'm Ben Davies. This is Pure Hollywood. As a viewer, I'm going to give The Shape of Water a 3 out of 5. Now, I wrote a knife's edge on this from giving it a 4 out of 5. It was very close between 3 and 4. But I think there's a few reasons why the audience won't be swept away like it seems the Academy was when they watched this movie. For one, this movie is insanely predictable. From the very first scene of the movie, you will know what is going on. Even the heist elements, they show you exactly how they're going to do it before it happens. Everything is very on the nose and clear what's going to happen. There's a lot of very convenient plot points to move it forward, and this causes it to definitely slow down the second half of the movie and get a bit boring. Now, that being said, The Shape of Water is a very intriguing and romantic and visually stunning movie to watch. You'll really enjoy most of these elements. It's very similar to Edward Scissorhands, the Tim Burton classic from the 1990s, though it is not nearly as good. But the tone and a lot of the romantic elements are extremely similar to that movie, though, like I said, Scissorhands up here, Shape of Water down here. As a critic, I'm going to give The Shape of Water a 3 out of 5. As craft goes, this movie definitely deserves to be praised and is a testament to Guillermo del Toro and his wonderful eye for film and cinema. You've seen him do this in Pan's Labyrinth, Hellboy, and a bunch of other movies. He's just a great visual director, a great storyteller. That being said, I cannot let slide the incredible lazy storytelling and dangerous framing of what this story is about, who the villains are, and what the villain of society at large actually is, which is what this movie is talking about. It is definitely not just Deaf Woman and Frogman love that is the point of this story. No, there's a big, large, very specific, very on the nose, very talked about, very punched into you every single scene of this movie element that they're talking about throughout it. Now, it should go without saying that every single villain is a straight white male, but they're also all Americans. Now, take this in contrast with the heroes. Every single person that is not a straight white male American is a hero. People that are disabled, women, minorities, even communist spies that are anti-American are seen as the heroes in this movie. I am not even joking. Now let's take a look at the antagonist situation in general. Of course, the villain is an abusive, straight white male who is also a racist, abusive, and he's just an archetype of the patriarchy itself. Again, I could give it a pass if it just left it at that, but this movie takes it one step further and even shows you a picture of the American family as the problem, the source of all this that's bleeding out through. You go back to this man's family and he has what seems to be the perfect wife, the perfect kids. They're all respectful and honor him, and he comes back after doing his job and he's talking around the breakfast table and he has this beautiful wife, everything like that, and he literally just looks awful, and he even stares into the screen almost and mumbles into himself, "This is America. This is America." Then he goes on to, of course, abuse his wife and be awful at work, abusing everyone, being racist and awful the entire time. And it's showing this snapshot of what we thought perfect America was, and obviously it's not that because that's abusive and terrible. The intact middle-class family being the pinnacle of fake happiness and evil in this story. Now, this movie takes place in 1962, and they completely forget the fact that happiness statistically in the United States and in Europe has been on a plummeting decline since the breaking up of this horrible image in the 1960s that they've split apart. Single motherhood rates, depression, abuse, all these numbers going way, way, way up since, of course, we fixed it by breaking this up. Absolutely ridiculous. It's crazy, but that's not even the worst part that they go into in this movie. They talk about America as a whole as the real villain. In a conversation with the villain in this movie, played by Michael Shannon, and his boss, he's asking for forgiveness because he made a mistake, saying, I'm a decent man. And the general scoffs at him, and he's like, decency, we don't use that in America. We put that up as an image, as basically something we sell, but it doesn't help us at all, and it's not what we're about. I'm like literally saying that America is not decent. That's not what we're about. That's not what made us good. Nothing. As Americans, we sell decency. We don't actually need it. It's a sales pitch. It is crazy. This is amplified by one of the protagonists in the movie, a Russian communist spy who is infiltrating the United States. No, I am not kidding. I wish that I was. And if you want to talk about decency, I'm not even going to throw out some statistics or any historical context. I'm saying find one person, one family that has left Russia back in that time, that experienced the Soviet Union, the oppression of communism, and the incredible just destruction and loss of life and abuse that took place because of that regime. You want to talk about decency? Look at what we brought down and brought people out of, people fleeing the United States to escape that, and what we helped bring down. That is decent. I cannot believe they would make that statement and put that person as the protagonist for us to get behind it, like propping up the Soviet Union and communism and putting that in the same category as American capitalism. Unbelievable. You will not find one person, not one person that will speak otherwise that has actually experienced that. You might be able to Google some stupid professor of pansexuality in New York that'd be like, oh, there's some really great stuff of equality and communism, but that is it. That is absolutely it. And also in the same vein of talking about the United States and how we've been decent on a world scale, this movie takes place after the Korean War. Why don't you talk to any of the millions of South Koreans that now have a free and prosperous life because of the sacrifice of hundreds and thousands of our men going over there and dying so they can have that freedom, and us not even colonizing that area, giving it back so people have a chance to live for themselves. That's decency. Or clearly we can look to after World War II, where hundreds of thousands of our people were sent over there to die and spill blood so that all of Europe can be free and not be speaking German and being forced to do Sieg Heils to this day. And so these ridiculous anarchist, leftist, social justice warrior freaks out there can complain about all their first world problems that they're dealing with over there in Europe that are just oppressing them so much because of our decency, sacrificing ourselves so we could liberate all those European countries. That's decency. And going against incredible social international pressure by backing Israel, being one of the few countries that has the stones to stand up for the only free country, the only Western country in all of the Middle East, America doing that constantly and putting themselves out there. That is decency. Now, every single country has sins because people sin, make mistakes. America has not been perfect by any means, but please be objective for 2 seconds. Even this movie talking about minorities and oppression, is there one place that you would want to be born in the world if you were a minority right now? That is not the United States. And if you do not say it, you are either disingenuous or misinformed, period. Because statistically, and you won't find any statistics saying otherwise, it is still the greatest place on planet Earth to be born, even if you're of any minority, any status, anything. In the United States, your best chance for success and happiness. That's decency. Now, I could give it a pass if this was just a situational tale, some anecdotal story that someone was passionate about, because of course there are bad people in the United States that have lived here and done bad things, of course. And there were some good people, I'm sure, that were just forced to do terrible things in communist Soviet Union Russia, okay? That does happen. But when it is so clear that that is not the intent, it is such a broad political statement sweep of the United States is bad, capitalism bad, this is what we export, all that kind of stuff, destroying that image of what happiness and the goal of a together family is of the 1950s, like that being the villain of the story. Like it's so clear and so on the nose, particularly when this movie is nominated for Best Picture and being the front runner right now. It has to be criticized and called out for that. That is ridiculous. My faith and values to this movie is going to be a 0 out of 5. Honestly, there are some elements of people rising against oppression and being the underdog and fighting for love and all these kind of elements that I think are positive elements, but they are so just drowned out in this political agenda that I couldn't stomach or see past it. Because all these obstacles they're saying they're overcoming are specifically geared at one group of people, straight white men, who seem to all approve of this and be completely okay with it throughout the entire movie. And of course, I've never met a single person okay with abuse, sexual harassment, violence, racism, all these things that seem to be blanketed as, okay, this is totally fine, we're all against it kind of thing. There are literally laws on the books criminalizing this. To say this is being endorsed is absolutely ridiculous. And this is also the message that's been promulgated in the media and in this movie constantly, that apparently there's a group of people that are completely okay with all this. And of course that is not true. But yet again, this is a movie that is being lifted to the highest honor in the entire land because it's depicting what works. Everyone else versus the one group of people that are apparently the oppressors and the problem with society today. Honestly, it's sad when a movie may win an Oscar for showing obstacles, oppression, and villains that may be the very people that are standing arm in arm with us. I'm Ben Davies. This is Pure Hollywood. And another fantastic news, you can now download the Rebel app and take me with you wherever you go to get exclusive content in the entire Rebel lineup.